My name is Adriana Sterling, and my sister, Sabrina, only ever saw my military uniform as a costume. While she was busy conquering the corporate world, I was busy flying high-stakes combat missions. This difference wasn't just a career choice. It was the entire foundation of her decade-long campaign to erase me from our family. It all came to a head in the sterile silence of the estate lawyer's office 3 days after our father's funeral. Sabrina, the picture of meticulous financial success, was pronounced the sole executor of the Sterling Trust. My inheritance? A sealed envelope containing only my father's engraved gold pocket watch and a heartfelt note thanking me for my service. No assets, no cash, just a sentiment. At the airport, as we checked in for our flight, Sabrina delivered her final, polished blow. "Just to let you know," she whispered, her eyes sweeping over my uniform, "the beneficiary fitness clause was enacted. Your mandated leave after your last deployment, your psychological fragility, as the council called it, means the Sterling fortune is now legally protected from you." She hadn't just disinherited me, she had weaponized my military medical files. My lowest moment twisted into her greatest victory. As we boarded Atlantic Express Flight 747 and settled into business class, I knew this wasn't just a flight home. It was her victory lap. I need to know I'm not the only one who has experienced this kind of calculated family betrayal. If you have ever felt like a black sheep in your own family, type betrayed in the comments below. And before we get into the heart-stopping action to come, please subscribe to the Revenge Dose channel and let us know where in the world you're watching from. Thank you for being here. 40,000 feet over the Atlantic, Sabrina was already celebrating. She leaned over, tapping her phone screen. "The trust documents are finalized tomorrow morning, Adriana. You're officially done." She was savoring the moment, the ultimate victory of logic and finance over duty and service. Then the plane lurched, not just turbulence, but a sudden violent thwop from the starboard side. The lights flickered, staying slightly dimmer. A horrific metallic sputtering sound followed, and the acrid smell of burnt wiring began to snake through the vents. Panic was immediate. "What is that smell, Adriana?" Sabrina demanded, her voice losing its edge of control. Before I could answer, the entire aircraft pitched hard, throwing everyone forward. The emergency lights came on, but the overhead oxygen masks didn't drop. Then came the terrible, undeniable sound of the plane groaning under stress. The intercom crackled to life, but only briefly. A terrified voice screamed, "Engine 2 fire! We can't hold her!" before the system died, plunging the main cabin into a dim, terrifying silence punctuated by shouts. I was out of my seat instantly. My military training, the decades of muscle memory and crisis response, overrode all civilian protocol. Sabrina grabbed my arm. "You can't go up there. You'll be arrested." "I'm a pilot," I snapped, pointing at my uniform. "Right now, that's all that matters." I shoved the cockpit door open. The cabin was a storm of blaring red warnings and thick black smoke. The captain was slumped over the yoke, unconscious. The young first officer, Lieutenant Reyes, was frantically fighting the controls. "We lost engine 2 and the hydraulics. We have no stick authority," he yelled over the alarms. I pushed him aside and took the controls. "I have the yoke. Major Adriana Sterling, USF. Give me the checklist." Reyes didn't hesitate. He pointed frantically to the fire suppression switch, which was dead. I was flying a crippled 747 on pure manual input and one remaining engine. I keyed the microphone. "Mayday, Mayday, this is Skybridge 747, engine failure and fire. Captain incapacitated. I am alternate pilot in command. Request immediate vector to St. John's International. 747, this is Gander Center. St. John's is not rated for your aircraft. The runway is too short. The voice came back, tight with alarm. Understood. We are 300 souls. Priority. Landing. Now. I had to use the remaining engine and manual trim to coax the massive jet onto a shallow, agonizingly slow descent. My mind was running the numbers. Altitude, weight, drag, speed. It was a physics equation with 300 lives on the line. That's when Sabrina appeared in the cockpit doorway. She saw the slumped captain and the blazing red panel. Her terror gave way to a bizarre final attempt to control the narrative. You're relying on a combat pilot with documented psychological issues? She shrieked, loud enough for Reyes to hear. She's a liability. She thinks this is a toy fighter jet. I didn't even look at her. I gave a slight, precise correction to the yoke, fighting the plane's dangerous left bank. She's right, Lieutenant Reyes, I said, cold and focused. This isn't a toy. It's a machine that requires discipline and commitment. Two things she believes are weaknesses, which are currently the only things keeping her alive. The plane broke through the cloud layer at 4,000 feet. The runway was visible, small, wet, and far too short. 190 knots. We're too fast. We won't stop in time. Reyes gasped. We have to, I replied. Full flaps. I'm going to pitch it high for a hard, high-angle landing. Max drag. We'll cut the engine at 100 feet to force the stall on touchdown. It was a reckless, desperate maneuver, one that required absolute precision. I had to ignore every instinct screaming at me to pull up and abort. I was flying on the adrenaline of my training and the bitter knowledge that the life I was saving belonged to the person who had betrayed me. 100 feet. Engine idle, I commanded. The plane dropped, slamming onto the tarmac. Screech! Tires smoking, reverse thrust from the single engine roaring. Reyes activated the emergency brakes. The plane slid, eating up the runway at a terrifying speed. The trees at the far end loomed large. We came to a violent final stop, 10 feet from the tree line. Silence. Then the roar of relief from the cabin and the immediate arrival of emergency vehicles. Sabrina was no longer standing. She was slumped in the doorway, staring at the scarred runway, her entire corporate identity shattered by raw survival. She looked at me, the person she had disinherited, the one whose stability she questioned to steal her birthright. All she could whisper was, You saved us. You were right. I took a deep breath, the adrenaline draining away. I pulled the gold pocket watch out and held it tight. I didn't need her apology or her money. The revenge wasn't in the wealth she lost. It was in the undeniable proof that my service, my discipline, and the quiet strength she despised were the only things she was still breathing. I simply nodded, stepped past her, and walked back into the cabin to assist the passengers. My victory was complete. If your story proves that your quiet dedication beats loud arrogance every time, I need you to type victory in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the Revenge Dose channel for more stories of ultimate vindication.